Hi friends, I hope you're doing well. I have another story for us to read together. Does that sound good? So I heard that for some of you, the story about the sheep was your favorite. So I found another story about a sheep named Shrek that I would like us to read together. So this story is based on a true story about a sheep named Shrek who lived in New Zealand. So it's a little bit of a longer story, heads up for parents. So you can pause it if you want to listen to it over 2 nights. But I think it's a really great story and it's based on a true story. So let's start reading together. Shrek, the famous hermit sheep of Tarras. On a warm, sunny day in spring, a small merino lamb was born on Bendigo Station. He was born in a very large paddock near the Bendigo homestead. He struggled to his feet and sniffed the air. He looked around and saw a big sheep. "Oh, there is my mother." Clumsily, he wobbled towards her and she licked him all over. He looked up and saw mountains, clouds, and blue sky. The lamb frolicked with his friends, drank his mother's warm milk, and at nighttime snuggled up to his mother in the long tussock grass. Day after day he played, looked around, felt very happy, and grew a lot. "How lucky I am," he thought. "I love this place." But one day, just when he was feeling as if his life would keep on going the way it was forever, he looked up and saw a man coming towards him. Dogs were barking loudly and running madly everywhere. "Mama, I'm very scared." "Don't worry, little one," said his mother. "You were just going to get your tail chopped off." "What? What did you say?" An hour or 2 later, he was back with all the other lambs in the paddock without his waggly little tail. When his tail healed up, his life went back to normal. He nibbled the little green grass shoots, drank the nice, cool, pure water from the creek that ran down over the rocks on Bendigo Hill, and best of all, his favorite thing, played with his little lamb friends. "Come on, let's run and jump and play and frolic," he said. And they did, every day from morning till night when the sun sat behind the distant, shadowy hills. One warm, sunny day, the man with the scary dogs came up the hill again. "The dogs are here," said his friends. "We are going to be shorn. They want our fine, warm wool. The man with the dogs really likes it. He sells it to make clothes. He earns a lot of money from our wool." "Bah, bah, what does shorn mean?" "It doesn't take long. The machine shears go all over you, and it is a bit scary, but it doesn't hurt." The little boy lamb was terrified. His legs were shaking. His little body was trembling. Suddenly he was grabbed. Bzz, bzz, bzz. "What is this white stuff on the floor? Oh my goodness, I think that's my lovely wool. I am shivering. This is awful. How can I play without my woolly coat?" Eventually, his life once again returned to normal. He played in the grass, drank cool, clear water, and jumped, hopped, and headbutted his friends. Life was fun, and after nearly a year, he had almost forgotten about the man, the dogs, and those shears. Do you see him getting his hair cut? Then, one nice spring morning, he heard the barking of those dogs again. "I know what to do," he said. "I will hide." He didn't have time to say goodbye to anyone. He turned around and started to run. "Oh, a fence! I will jump it." He ran and ran up a dry hill with lots of sharp, craggy rocks covered with moss. He ran and ran and ran, higher and higher. He lay down for a little rest on the grass, the nice tussock grass, and looked down the hill to his old paddock far away. Bah, bah. I will hide here and wait for my mother. She will hear me and find me. Bah, 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 bah. His loud voice started to shake. He tried to keep calling, but his voice was getting more and more quiet. Bah, 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 bah. His mother didn't come. His friends didn't come, and he couldn't baa anymore. He was scared, tired, and thirsty, and so exhausted from all the running that he lay in the warm sun, sobbing his little sobs, his eyes filling with tears which dropped onto the dry ground. He drifted off to sleep, a lonely little woolly ball lying high on the deserted Bendigo hillside. Jack hares hopped amongst the trefoils and blue tussock grasses, and sparrow hawks flew over and looked down at him. As he slept, the sun got lower in the sky and disappeared before the faraway snowy mountains. An eerie cold wind came up and woke him. I must get moving again, he thought. I'm getting cold and it will soon be dark. I must find a safe place. He looked around. He saw rocks, jagged and mossy, all sorts of shapes sticking up high. I need a warm spot with a creek and tussock grass to eat. Those joining rocks up there look as if they would make a good house. Nature has put those rocks there just for me. A crevice with a view and a front entrance that will give me light. I do miss my mother's big, warm, woolly coat of wool that I love to snuggle up to each night. Bah, bah. I love you, Mother, he sighed. I must forget about all the bad things that have happened to me. This will be my home now, all by myself. And it was. Day after day he grew, and his wool grew too. He learned to play games by himself. He ran around and frolicked in the native grass. He slept in the crevice in the rocks at night. Winter came quickly. When the snow began to fall, he dreamed about the old days down on Bendigo Flats with his friends and his mother. Still, his fleece grew and grew, keeping him snug and warm. One morning, he woke to find powdery snow ankle deep outside. He had to scratch with his hooves to find his breakfast. Each day, the search for food grew harder and harder as the snow deepened and frosted on top. Just when he thought he could bear it no longer, he noticed that the snow was softer and wetter. The spring thaw had begun at last. He soon forgot the harshness and hunger of the winter and stretched outside his cave in the spring warmth, munching the new grass in the solitude and safety of the Bendigo hills. Summer came. The hills became brown and very barren. Lizards came each day to sit in the sun on the nearby rocks, and the wild goats played and stood on the edge of the high bluffs silhouetted against the sky. The water only trickled now in the little Bendigo Creek. You see how much hair Shrek has? 6 years passed with warm springs, hot summers, colorful autumns, and harsh, cold, frosty winters. He realized he could not see as well as he used to, and his coat was becoming dangerously heavy. Some mornings when he woke, he struggled to get up onto his feet. He thought once more about the coming winter and the deep snow. He worried that this time he might not be able to find food for himself. He thought more and more of his old carefree life when he had been a lamb. I do so wish I could see my friends again. I wonder if my mother is still there. I wonder if she still remembers me, he thought to himself as he sat all alone in his cave. One morning, he looked out of his cave and noticed shapes coming towards him. That sounds like people, he said to himself. His heart raced. He heard the loud barking of their farm dogs, and he was frightened. But how could he run with his huge, heavy, woolly coat? He couldn't see. He couldn't escape. He was helpless. "Look at that incredible sight," he heard a woman's voice say. "That sheep must have been hiding up here." "He must have been up here for years," she said. Gently, one of the shepherds picked him up and put him in their farm truck. "He weighs a ton," they said. They took him slowly down the hill and put him in a shed. A man called John fed him hay and talked calmly to him, reassuring him. Phew! It seemed as though he would be safe from the shearing machine and the dogs after all. "I think I like you, John. You will look after me." Children came to see him and crowded around. John said to the children, "What shall we call him?" "Shrek," said a girl. "He looks like an ogre, but he is quiet and gentle." "He's Shrek, the gentle giant." "Yes, he will be called Shrek. Come on, Shrek, we will help you see again," said John. Shrek. Shrek. That sounded special. John put pegs in his wool and pulled it away from his eyes. He could see. He was pleased. He nuzzled John. He knew he was lucky. This man who cared for him was his owner and his friend. The children laughed at him and loved him. They were his friends too. Shrek's sheep heart swelled with pride. He had new friends, a home, plenty of food, and best of all, he could see. John and his wife talked to Shrek about helping children who were sick. He could do that. "Yes, I can help sick children. I want them to be happy. I was blind and helpless up there in my cave, and John saved me. The children help me, and they are kind. I will be a helper too." A famous TV man, Mr. Holmes, came especially to see Shrek and take some pictures. A few days later, he brought all his cameras back with him to film the shearing of Shrek's massive fleece. "You didn't like those machine shears, did you?" said John. "So this time we won't use them. Once you have been shorn, you are going to wear a woolen coat that has been made especially for you to keep you warm." Shrek let the shearer shear his fleece in front of the TV cameras. Hundreds of people all around New Zealand stopped to watch it on their TV sets. He felt a little wobbly on his feet, but this time he had some nice, quiet, old-fashioned hand clippers, not those shearing machines, and he felt happy. Shrek's picture appeared on TVs all over the world, and John sold his incredible fleece for lots of money to help cure kids. Shrek, who was now a celebrity, traveled around New Zealand with John, wearing his special Shrek coat. He got to meet the Prime Minister, went to the horse races, met old people, and opened shows, raising more money for the sick children. He stands proudly beside John, listening to people admiring his kind and gentle nature. He enjoys the attention because he knows he is very special. Ba, ba, ba. I am so happy now I feel like running and jumping about. In fact, I think I will. And with that, he raced around John's wool shed, jumping and turning in the air until he was exhausted. And all the people watching him laughed. No longer was he lonely. He was famous, the most famous sheep in New Zealand, maybe the world, born on Bendigo Station in Tarras, Central Otago, New Zealand. And that's the end of our story, but there's a special picture. So I forgot to tell you this at the beginning. This story was written by some kids your age. Kids in kindergarten and first and second and third grade. And you can see all their pictures here. And look, that is Shrek. Do you see Shrek and do you see his coat? Look how much hair Shrek has. And all the money that Shrek raised went to an organization called Cure Kids. to help kids who are sick find a cure so they can feel better. So these are all the students who helped write this book. That's pretty neat of them to share this amazing story of Shrek. So I would love for you to talk with your parents or your siblings about the story. What did you like about it? What did you not like? Was there ever a time in your life that you went through something scary or hard, but then because you went through that scary or hard thing, it helped you be kinder and gentler afterwards? I've had a couple of those times in my life. Well, I hope you enjoyed this book, and next week we will have another story. All right, guys, good night.